Okay, I think this should be working now. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Test, 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 test. Okay, I think this should be working now. Perfect. Okay. All right, now I'm starting. So the program I did was Engineering World Health Summer Institute, and Engineering World Health is an organization. I guess I'll try to stay in my stream over here. Engineering World Health is an organization whose mission it is to improve global health, and they do this in a number of different ways. Only one of which is the Summer Institute, the program that I did. And the Summer Institute does this in two ways itself. So the first way is they actually send people to the developing world, and we work in hospitals there to fix any broken medical equipment and try to educate the technicians. Technicians have no real training most of the time, so we're able to teach them a little bit while we're there as well. And the second way this program helps is the people that they send are people like me, students. And the effort is to get us involved in more of a lifelong endeavor, I guess, to work towards their goal as well. And I think it worked. I mean, I'm pretty interested in Engineering World Health. So the Summer Institute is in 3 countries. It's in Nicaragua, Tanzania, and Rwanda right now. They change throughout the years. And since I don't speak Swahili or French really at all, I chose Nicaragua for the little Spanish that I do know. So yeah, let's get started. The program's 2 months. I guess I should say that too. It's a 2-month-long program. The first month is intensive language and technical training. And then the second month, you're partnered off with somebody else in the program, and you're sent off to work out in a hospital all by yourself, you and your partner, and fix as much as you can. And then at the end, you come back. We all get in a group like this, and then we all present what we did that month we were all apart. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the first month here, and then I'm going to give the presentation that I gave with my hospital partner at the end of the second month. The CEO actually flies out, and it's pretty cool. We all get to see what everybody did for the last month. All right, so this is a picture right outside our language school where we also had our technical training. This is in Granada, Nicaragua. Our school was to the left there. You can't tell from this picture, but it's extremely hot. Literally the entire first 2 weeks I was there, you don't stop sweating. Day and night, nonstop, you're sweating the entire time. The year-round average high is 92. It's very humid. This is inside the language school. It's very common for fancier places. I think every single place I was in had this open area on the inside somewhere. There's no air conditioning. There was air conditioning, I think, in 2 places. There was a quick stop in Granada that had air conditioning, and there was also one of the rooms in the hospital was air conditioned. Oh, and the subway. There was a subway that was air conditioned, but that was it. So here's me with my Spanny 2 teacher there in the middle, and all the way on the far side is Ron. He was our technical teacher. So we had Spanish school in the mornings, and then afternoons from about 1 to 5, we learned how to fix stuff, like specifically equipment that we would probably run into in the developing world and how to fix it with what we have. He's wearing a Moosehead shirt. He's Canadian, you can tell. I was a Spanny 2. They split us up into 5 groups depending on level, so I wasn't the worst, but I was pretty close to it. This is just a picture of us having a good time. This was one of the group activities we did during the Spanish school. That's one of the more advanced teachers, so we didn't talk very much. So we stayed in homestays while we were there. This is a picture of myself there on the right and 2 other program participants. That's Adam and that's Ahmed. Ahmed ended up being my hospital partner for the second month. And our homestay wanted to take our picture, which was great. And actually a lot of people wanted to take our picture. It happened quite a bit. If a group of us went to go eat at a restaurant, the owner would usually come out, like, look at all these gringos, take a picture so he could show all his friends that gringos eat at my restaurant. And also sometimes when you're out in more touristy places, like we went to Tikal, where that one scene from Star Wars is filmed at the Rebel base, which is pretty cool, the ruins. Somebody just walked up and was like, can I have a picture with you? We're like, oh, sure, I guess, you know, that's fine. So that was kind of cool. You're almost a celebrity. So our first weekend, we went to this place. So we work all day during the week, and our weekends are to ourselves, so we can go travel. And the first weekend they took us as a group, we went to this ceramics place. This is me expertly shaping a pot. Very proud of that pot. It is so much harder than it looks. It looks fun, it looks easy. It's actually really difficult. You have to keep that stone spinning on your own, so your whole body's moving while you're trying to hold this still. But that was pretty cool. And it actually wasn't near as hot here because it was up in the mountains. So this is from one of our hikes. That's me again, and that's Teddy, another program participant. He's in my Spanny 2 group, and that was one of our coordinators. So he was like the boss, I guess. This was one of the hikes that we did. This was on a volcano. There's no mountains. Everything's a volcano over there. This was a dormant volcano, and it poured on us. So this is like one of the only photos I have going up because I couldn't get my phone out. But the guy all the way on the left was our guide. He was there to make sure we didn't get lost and die. So this is a picture of 2 volcanoes on the island Amatepe. So you can't tell from here, but there's actually a giant lake between us and those 2 volcanoes. Those are on an island, and it was pretty cool. We went there one weekend. We climbed the little one over here. Madeiras is what that's called, and this one is Concepcion. I wanted to do Concepcion, but apparently it's pretty steep and boring, and this one's more jungly. So the picture that you just saw is us like there. Just towards the beginning. This is lava. I thought this was really cool. One of the coolest things I had ever seen. You could hear it bubbling. It was just churning the entire time. This is at Masaya volcano, just like 15 minutes away from Granada, where we were doing all of our training. So this is the Stone Man. By chance, has anyone ever heard of the Stone Man? I never had. Kind of obscure. So he's difficult to get to. But anyway, this guy, it was about 33 years ago, I think. We visited him during our last weekend in Nicaragua. About 30 years ago, he was an alcoholic, and he says that God told him to carve rocks. So now every time since then he feels like drinking, he instead goes out and carves. And this whole mountainside is just covered in 30 years worth of carving. So I thought this was a cool picture. I have lots of pictures of this. He was very happy to give us a tour and show us around, but you can see how high up we are, and it was just massive how much he had carved. It was cool. He was a very nice guy. This is me at the feet of Jesus. This is at San Juan del Sur. It was kind of like, it was supposed to be like the second biggest Jesus statue, but then inside they listed like 3 or 4 ones that were bigger than it, so I didn't really understand what was going on. But my Spanish comprehension isn't that good either, so I don't know what went on. Maybe at one time it was the second biggest, but this is that picture if you're watching on the stream. That is the loading picture. This was our last night in Nicaragua. It was a really cool sunset. So anytime you see pictures of Granada, you'll almost always see this church. It's like the symbol of Granada. That's how you know it's a picture of there.
Hey,
So this is, I'll go back so you can hear it. I thought the first volcano we saw was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. But then we did this hike. This was actually in Guatemala, our second month, where we saw an active volcano. And it erupted probably 40 times while we were there. So it's an overnight hike. You climb an adjacent volcano that is dormant-ish. Last time it erupted was 4 years ago, so I guess that's long enough. So you climb an adjacent dormant volcano, and you can watch from eye level almost the active Volcán de Fuego, which means volcano of fire, aptly named. So this is one video of, sorry, I got to turn this off for this not to do terrible things. Let's just watch the video.
Hey chicos, levántense. Wow. Wow.
Yay.
¿Algo más?
This is so beautiful.
Yeah. Hasta feliz se pone su hijo, mira.
Get that one in.
Papá, aquí estoy.
Get that one.
That was probably the favorite thing that we got to go do, you know, besides what we were doing during the week for our weekend trips. It was also the hardest hike I've ever done in my entire life. Okay, so that's our first month. So now I'm going to go into the presentation that I gave with my hospital partner at the end of the second month. And if you have any questions, feel free to voice them at any time. I know what it's like to have a question and just hold on to it the whole talk, and you can't really focus because you're just thinking about remembering your question. Okay, so I was in Antigua, Guatemala. Notice it says Guatemala and not Nicaragua. So long story short, we had some trouble with the Nicaraguan government getting our NGO approved to work in the public hospitals there. But luckily, last minute, Engineering World Health was able to use their connections. They have another program in Guatemala that usually takes place during the winter. So they're able to use all their setups with the homestays and the public hospitals there and send us into Guatemala to work for the second month, which actually worked out pretty well, I think, for some of us students, because now we got to go visit 2 countries unexpectedly, and they paid for the flight. So that was pretty cool. So we were in Antigua, Guatemala. Antigua literally means old or antique. And Antigua is actually a UNESCO heritage site, which is a United Nations designation where it just means it's really old and you can't change it, which is kind of cool. It's a very pretty place, but the really annoying part was this road here. All the roads are cobblestone, and even some of the sidewalks are cobblestone as well. So like, it's a really pretty town. You try to walk around, but when you want to look around, you have to stop because all your attention has to be on where your feet are going at all times. So this is my hospital partner. Not sure what he's doing in this photo, but yeah, so our hospital was not in Antigua. Antigua is actually a pretty touristy place. We were about a 10 to 15 minute bus ride to San Juan, which is a smaller town, but is home to the biggest hospital in the area, the public hospital there. So Antigua is pretty touristy, but where we were working was not. So this is this next thing is a video of our first tuk-tuk ride to the hospital on these lovely cobblestone roads. So if you don't know what a tuk-tuk is, it's like a tiny golf cart that's gas-powered. It's actually, I'd say it's closer to a go-kart. There's 3 wheels. Kind of dangerous, I guess. Depends on how fast you go. So I just wanted to show you what the cobblestone was like. Cobblestone. Sorry that sounds so bad. It's much better on the stream, but this is all I could come up with to make this work properly. So this is just another picture of Antigua to show you how pretty it is. That, of course, is another volcano. Nothing's a mountain. They're all volcanoes. Mostly dormant, but a lot of them you would see smoking in the distance, which was pretty cool, especially when we had the flight to Guatemala. So this is a picture of our hospital. I don't know how my hospital partner ever got this photo with not people all over the place, because this was a very busy hospital. Like I said, the biggest in the area, the name of it was Hospital Nacional Pedro de Betancourt. About 600 employees, which is very big. We were by far in the biggest hospital than anybody else in the program the second month. So yeah, there was about 10 people in maintenance in total, which is quite a lot. A lot of times there'll be maybe 1 guy, if any, in these hospitals or clinics. But none of these guys really fixed medical equipment. I mean, these two here were the 2 that we worked with the most, and they did some electrical work, but nobody was trained in fixing medical equipment. I remember most of these guys worked in the boiler room, and somebody, I don't remember who it was, their job was to just fix the furniture that broke, because it was a big hospital. But I think we all got along pretty well. They're a great bunch of guys, and they're clever with, a lot of times it's hard to find parts. That was the most frustrating part about trying to fix stuff in the developing world. There's no mail. I can't just order something on Amazon and it get there in 3 weeks or something. There's no mail system. There's DHL, but I imagine it's really expensive to try to get stuff there. So a lot of our time was spent trying to find parts for things and trying to get stuff to work with what we had. And they're very good at that. I mean, they've been doing this sort of thing for a while. So we're supposed to talk about some of the fixes in the presentation. So I'm going to go into a little more detail on one of the fixes, this one, because it was one of my favorites. We got this one our very first day. This is a picture of the inside of an infant incubator. This is the control unit. And what had happened was the front panel connecting to the control unit had been, we don't know what happened, but it was completely severed. It was beheaded, where every single cable connecting the control unit to the interface was broken at some place, and all the screw things were broken where it is held in. So the screws didn't break, but where the screws were being held in were all pulled out. It was very aggressive. We're not really sure what happened, but what I really liked about this fix is it did take a while because there was a lot of broken stuff, but it was all stuff that was pretty easy to do relatively. Like there wasn't anything really complicated about it. So here's a video of me documenting everything that was wrong with the infant incubator. Okay, Ahmed is wetting a sponge for our soldering iron. This is the control unit for a infant incubator. The front panel has been aggressively ripped off, so that was connected there. This was also ripped off, that one there is ripped off, and in here this is also, you can see that been disconnected there. So on our first day, we are going to try to fix it. And there's the infant incubator without its guts. We have an infant incubator here that works properly, the control unit, so we can see all the connections that need to be made, and hopefully we can get this done today. So yeah, there was a lot of things wrong with that. I think I even left out a couple things that was broken inside of that. But we were able to get another infant incubator, look at its control unit to figure out where stuff is supposed to be plugged in, and mirror that. So like I said, just to go in a little more detail on this one fix, we had this connector here, and we didn't want to just take the connector out that had been severed, these wires. We wanted to actually use the connector, because otherwise when you solder it just across, then you can never actually take the control unit apart like you're supposed to if something else were to go wrong with it. So the way we fixed this connector here is we took some solid wire, took some solid wire, bent it in that little hook, and we were able to put a ball of solder and set it inside and push it down into the connectors and touch the solder to the other end, and then melt the solder down into the connectors. So we thought that was a pretty cool little fix for this connector, and there's my desolder job. Very proud of that, where our ribbon connector was supposed to go. You can see through all of those holes. And soldering that was also like the hardest solder I've ever done. Those wires are really small and they're all really close together. Just that alone took us like at least 2 hours to do those 14 cables. And I don't have the picture of the completed unit, but I assure you it did work when we were done. It was very satisfying to finally plug it in, put it all together, and push all the buttons, and things changed the way they were supposed to. I don't know. I think it was very recent because it was marked as urgent. So assuming it hadn't been urgent for a couple months. Did I have Nicaraguans shadowing me? So the maintenance guys, yeah, they would be very curious about how we would fix stuff, how we approached it, but they also wanted to see what we could do. So this being early on, they just kind of gave it to us and said it was broken, here, fix this. So this was actually our very first fix, which was really nice because early in the day we had received some equipment that was just, we couldn't fix it. Come to find out, it was missing just a whole bunch of parts on the inside. They were suction regulators, and they didn't have the insides. They were just outsides. So yeah, they were always there. We were working in the same room as the maintenance guys. We had a table that they gave us where we could do all of our work, but they're always there. Okay, so this was our first day. This is a video from our second day. Now remember, neither of us speak Spanish really well. Ahmed spoke much better than I, but neither of us were very good. He understood much better than I did. So this is just a little story, I guess, about, I don't know. You'll see what happened on our second day. Hey, Ahmed. What is this?
That is the alcohol we used to clean some electrical circuits.
And what does it smell like?
Seems to be rum.
And how did this come about?
I think you asked alcohol from the head of the Department of Maintenance, and
I did.
you joked about alcohol for drinking.
Yeah, but I said no bebe.
No, baby, and he laughed about it.
He did laugh. So either this was a misunderstanding, or he understood perfectly and is continuing the joke, because this is definitely not rubbing alcohol. This is drinking alcohol.
Or he just thought we were going to be innovative with, like, rum.
Hold on. For the camera, here, smell this. This is
I don't-
totally Florida Kanye.
That's not how camera works.
Thanks, Justin. So yeah, Ahmed and I, we had a lot of fun. So that was our second day, and oh, come on. This is a video. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like it should be right. Okay, well, you don't need to see the bottom anyway. There's no sound, don't worry. So we were eating lunch our third day, and Ahmed wasn't eating, and I was still eating, and this lady wanted to leave employee parking. So she was trying to back out of this small parking lot for several minutes. Like, Ahmed, you should go try to help. You know, I'm still eating, so Ahmed, you go try to help her out. So he's talking to her for several minutes before I decide I need to film this. So I set my phone up, and this goes on actually for a few more minutes, and then eventually she gives up and just asks us to get her out. So, and then I made a joke about stealing her car, and she thought that was funny. And yeah, it was a great third day. So I guess I'll take this opportunity while we watch him try to talk her out for a while of talking about our secondary project. So while we were there fixing medical equipment, we were also supposed to do a bigger project over the course of our time there. So we had lots of suggestions for our secondary project. We asked around. There's really no limitations on what we're supposed to do. We're given examples so we get an idea of what kind of project is a good secondary project. But most of the suggestions we got from people working at the hospital was buy us some computers or buy us a new ECG machine. And while those are helpful, it doesn't really utilize the fact that we're there, two people trying to work on something for them. So one suggestion that we did get was improving the playground. That was in the adolescent clinic waiting room, which is actually an outdoor area. It was also overflow for the clinic waiting room, so all the kids would go out and play in this little area while they're waiting. So we'll get to that at the end of this. So yeah, as you can see, this just goes on and on. So we'll just, and it, remember, it went on. Yeah, he is just looking at me at this point. She came really close to that Jeep. She came within inches of that Jeep. I think it's right here, but we'll move on. So this was another fix that we did. So this is in the milk bank in Guatemala. If you don't know what a milk bank is, I had not heard of one. It's very similar to a blood bank, same concept, where people can come and donate their breast milk for mothers that for one reason or another cannot breastfeed their children. And the World Health Organization has actually been pushing for more milk banks, especially in the developing world recently. An example of why someone would need a milk bank is if they have HIV, which is more common than it should be. Then they can't breastfeed their kids because then they will get HIV. So milk banks are pretty important in the developing world, and this is the first one in Guatemala. So right there in the middle, this is a pasteurizer. I don't know which way it's supposed to be, but not if you contracted it later. I just read that as an example. There are a number of reasons why you wouldn't be able to breastfeed your kid. Yeah. But this is a milk bank, and this is a pasteurizer for the milk. And the complaint was that this machine would work sometimes. Like, it wouldn't get the temperature all the way to where it needed to be within the amount of time, because it's all very specific when you're pasteurizing milk. So we get there, and our first thought is, well, there's no lid on it. And also, it's directly underneath the flow of the air conditioner. And it's about 18 degrees Celsius in this room. So it's kind of chilly. I don't remember what that converts to. It's like 55 degrees or something. I don't remember. But it was kind of cold in there. It was nice to work in this room. So our first solution was to move it to the left and put a lid on it. There's no lid pictured here. But when we observed it this time, it did work well. So we thought, all right, great. This must be just user error. So during training, we're told, I think it's 46% of the time, it's 40-something. 46% of the time, it's user error when something gets reported to us. So almost half the time, it's just they don't know how to use it properly. And a lot of times that's because the manuals, if they get a manual at all with their donated equipment, are in English or German or Portuguese. I guess Portuguese isn't that big a deal, but it's almost half the time it's user error, which is what we thought this was. Unfortunately, over the next few days, they told us that it still was acting the same way, even with the lid on it, and it not underneath the air conditioner, where it would sometimes work, sometimes wouldn't get the temperature high enough, quickly enough. So we did just about everything we could think of. It's a pretty simple machine. We made sure the temperature sensors were right. We cleaned all the metal contacts. We made sure the relay was working. Everything seemed to be working fine. So we emailed the company to try to ask for the service manual, see if there's anything else we could dig at, I guess. But like I said, it's a pretty simple machine. So here is a video of our response from the company that makes these pasteurizers.
Okay, start over. What's going on?
So I received this manual from manufacturer that I emailed, and what it is, it's one picture and two sentences over 2 pages. And I can tell what it's saying. It's like, this equipment is used to regulate temperature and used with the software, which is the sentence number 1. Second sentence is, every electrical equipment should be disconnected before touching it or like messing with the wires. It's useless.
What's down at the bottom? Keep scrolling.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it. It's 2 pages. One page has like 10 words on it. First page has a picture, however, which is not very helpful since we already have the model and we know what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I sent a very vaguely aggressive email.
Oh.
Yeah, I send them another email back. Hopefully they...
So it's kind of hit and miss emailing companies for help. For instance, 2 weeks after I got back, I finally got an email back from Lifebox, which is a company that makes pulse oximeters, because we had some that weren't working. So it took them over a month to get back to us, and I was gone by that point. So sometimes they're helpful. Sometimes they will only send you the pages of the service manual that's relevant, because they want people to pay for a technician to come out the way it usually works here in the United States. But sometimes you just get stuff like this. So, yeah, question. Where do you guys get like tools and stuff? Where do we get tools and stuff? Right. So the place that we got tools, we actually brought them with us. So before the program starts, they mail out kits to half the participants, because you're paired off, and they are instructed, yes, in the United States. And then you bring those in your suitcase to Nicaragua. So how often were we short of something? We usually had the tools that we needed, or if we didn't, maintenance did. Like I used a drill in this next fix that maintenance had. We had mostly everything that we needed for our experience, I think. Did the tools get left behind? Yes, we donate the tools at the end of our stay. So this is another pasteurizer that didn't work. It was actually donated and it never worked. So as soon as they turned it on, it just made this awful noise. And what that noise was this cooling fan on the agitator motor, where the fan blades, I guess, just under stress, and it wasn't that great of a fan, began to break on one side, so they extended a little bit farther than normal, and then began to hit this metal support right below it. So it was kind of a poor setup. And then every time it hit it, it would break the fan blade even more and more. So what's left of this fan, you can see here. So they were never able to use this pasteurizer. So we looked all over for a fan. Of course, we couldn't find this exact fan. We looked for any fan that might work for this. So notice the fan blades are oriented in this direction, and actually most of the fans that we found, they're oriented in the opposite direction, so it would be sucking air instead of blowing air, so that's no good. And we have a pretty small space to work in. So I took a picture of this guy because this was at one of the hardware stores that we checked to see if they have a fan. It's something that was interesting that might happen here too, but I noticed that they always ask why we're looking for a specific part. Whatever part we're looking for, they're always, what do you want it for? Maybe they're just curious, but So we tell him, you know, it's to fix a pasteurizer at the hospital for the milk bank. He's like, oh, sorry, we don't have these. Thanks, though. He did speak a little bit of English, which was really nice. So as we're leaving, he's like, wait. So if you guys don't get this fan, then the babies won't have milk, right? And we're like, yeah, I guess so. So he stops us, and he calls like 4 or 5 of his hardware buddy friends and tries to find this fan for us, which worked really well because he speaks Spanish a lot faster than we do and could explain the situation pretty quickly. He did point us to a guy, didn't end up having a fan that worked for us, but he was just a really helpful guy. So I snuck a picture of him while he was calling his friends. Yeah, question? Yeah, we had the question was, do we have a budget? We had $100 per person to spend, so between us we had $200, and we could spend it for repairs and also for whatever things we need to buy for a secondary project, if any. So it's entirely up to us. We could have put all the money to the secondary project, all of it to parts. Just depends on what you need. So you're in charge of it. So this is a fan that we ended up finding eventually that fits in the space and has the blades oriented in the correct angle of attack. This is a CPU cooling fan from an Intel processor. The problem with this one was, of course, the hole was the wrong size, but we were able to fix that. But the plastic part here is way too thin. It didn't have the whole housing that the original fan had. So what we did is we filled it with epoxy paste, because otherwise it would just be on there and just wobble all over. There's nothing holding it horizontally. So we filled it with epoxy paste. We were able to drill a hole slightly smaller than the, what do you call that, rod? I don't remember what it's called. But we were able to hammer it on and then shaft. Here's a video of proof that it worked. So pretty simple fix, but it took us several days to get all the stuff that we needed, you know, and then we had to do a separate trip because now we needed epoxy paste, even though we had the fan. We had to drill it all out. So everything moves a whole lot slower over there. So relatively simple fixes just take a long time. But it was cool because we got to fix a pasteurizer for them. Couldn't fix the other one, but now they had one that worked properly. So they really liked us at the milk bank. We probably did the most for them, I think. So I've always also put this in there for my fixes. This is one of my favorite fixes because it had the reported problem of no encender, which means doesn't turn on, which is my favorite complaint because usually it was something simple electrical to fix. It's when it works sometimes, like the pasteurizer, that it's just, I don't know why it works sometimes and sometimes doesn't. Those are really hard to diagnose. So this one, it didn't turn on. It turns out the fuse holder was broken. We were able to fix it. Bend it in a shape that made it work and get it back to the doctor within about 20 minutes. So that was pretty cool because it was marked urgent, so we got it in and out pretty quickly. This is a ECG machine. I actually wasn't there for this fix. This was the one day I was sick and didn't go to the hospital. It's kind of ironic. The one day I'm sick, I don't go to the hospital. And the problem with this, as you can see, it prints just solid black, and it also always complained that there was no paper. There was a paper error every time. So I wasn't there for this fix, but Ahmed fixed this, and it turned out to just be a ribbon cable internally that was dislodged. So another nice, easy, clean fix. I thought this was a very satisfying picture, so I wanted to share it. This is a defibrillator pad. So the hospital was donated 3 defibrillators, and they didn't know if they worked. So our job was to figure out if they worked for them. So the problem was none of them came with batteries. Yeah. So none of them, I'm the only one that returned, my hospital partner. The defibrillators work though, I can tell you. So they didn't have batteries, which was a problem because the self-test that you're supposed to run every single day depends on there being a battery. You can't enter the self-test without a battery. So we could hook it up to a fake, our power supply that we brought, but they're not going to be able to do that every time. It's a hassle to connect all the wires every time. You need to do this self-test that has to happen every day. So we were able to find the service manual for these and find an extended self-test that doesn't require there being a battery, which is a superset of the daily self-test. So we were able to show them how to do that each time they wanted to use it, I guess each day. and it just has to be plugged in. I mean, they work without a battery. They just take a little bit longer to charge up. But yeah, this is a paddle. This is cleaned with 1200 emery cloth, and I just thought it looked really cool. This is cleaned with a little bit of water as well. The left side has been cleaned. The right side still has pit marks all over it. Pit marks are bad because electricity can concentrate on the grooves, anything that sticks out, and then burn the patient. So we cleaned all the pads, look really nice. We're also, so our lab book to test if a defibrillator works, this is the procedure specified in our lab book, is to go to the market, buy an entire freshly killed pig, bring it back to the hospital, and shock it. No, freshly killed. I don't know. Maybe, I guess it could be alive, but there's probably some ethical issues there. Anyway, it's supposed to jump a little bit if it's killed freshly enough, because all the muscles will still contract. But, you know, I'm a vegetarian, and my hospital partner was Muslim, so he doesn't eat pork. So there's two of us in the meat market going around looking for some fresh pig meat. Well, we needed something with muscle similar to humans as well, so. But yeah, it was kind of gross. I'm glad we didn't stay there any longer than we were. We were very polite. We held it together, but had I been there maybe 5 more minutes, I don't know if I could. We didn't get a whole pig. That was kind of expensive. It wasn't as cheap as our lab book made it sound it would be, and plus carrying it all the way to the hospital was going to be awful. So we bought about a 4-pound slab of what we thought was pretty fresh pig meat, and we brought that back to the hospital, and we shocked it. It didn't jump, but it was at least good to test that it actually did defibrillate when you push the buttons on the paddles. The self-test doesn't test the buttons, it just discharges them. And the maintenance guys were really happy to eat the pig meat when we were done with it, so they cooked it and ate it there. Okay, so secondary project. This is the waiting room area I was talking about. So the main clinic waiting room is on the other side of that wall, and the adolescent clinic is actually out. The only way to get to it is outside through this way. And this is the playground area. Notice there's only really 2 things. There's a swing set with 2 swings left, and then there's these monkey bars. So this is the before picture. We wanted to put something else here so there's more of a playground, because right now there's only 2 things. So we wanted to build something here, and we were thinking, well, maybe we could get tires pretty easily here in the developing world and build something out of tires for the kids. And we also wanted to fix up the swing set and repaint everything to make it look nice. So this is just showing what was wrong with the swing set. So just the way all the swing sets are built, it's metal on metal, which is very loud as well. And this one's broken off, and what happens is it just rubs through from use. So that swing was gone. This swing was incredibly close to doing this exact same thing to some poor child. You can see how much it's bending right there just from the stress. I'm sure if I were to sit on it, it would have broken immediately. And there's just a view of the monkey bars where the paint's chipping off, and I guess that's all that's wrong with that one. So this is me pondering what we could do with this wall. So there was a girl in our homestay staying with us. So this homestay hosted lots of different people in and out. There was a girl staying there sort of long term. Most interesting girl I've ever met in my entire life, but we don't have time to get into that now. Anyway, she was an artist amongst many things. So I was wondering, this is what I'm wondering in this photo, is if she would be willing to help us out with this secondary project and paint us some nice thing for the kids. So this is a photo that has disappeared magically. So has this, and so has this. Okay, that's okay. I don't think they're that important. So she said yes. She helped us out, which was fantastic. That's Deanna there. That was the progress she made on the very first day, putting down the base. Here's me sanding off loose paint off the swing set so we could repaint it. And we put metal primer all over everything. You have to try all sorts of different positions while you're putting on primer. It took a very long time. And primer turns out to be pretty awful. I'd never used it before, but it's like trying to put glue all over everything. Oh, this is a door that we walk past every day. Ahmed wanted to take a picture of it. You can't really read it, but it says, "Caution, do not open radiation." And it was always various degrees of open whenever we walked past it. And I think it's probably just mental, but we always felt a little different too when we walked past it. This is another photo that is gone. I think this is... All right. Yeah. So this was a photo of Ahmed carrying our very first tire. It's very ceremonious. Our first donated tire. So we walked around to talleres. I think that's the plural of taller. Is that correct? Yeah. Talleres, which is garages. So places that fix cars for people. And we asked them, hey, we're working at the hospital. We're volunteers. We want to build something else for the kids. Do you have any tires that don't work anymore? So we had a picture of our very first free tire. We'd take them to the bus station, take them to the hospital, wash them, prime them, paint them. It was a long process. The secondary project turned out to be a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be, but we got it done. So that was our very first tire, and this is a video of us obtaining the very last tire that we needed. All right, what's going on?
What's going on? We got the bus station right there.
Okay.
We got tires in this truck. Count of 3. We're gonna take the tires. We're gonna skedaddle. We're gonna run to the bus. We're not gonna stop. We're not gonna look back. We're not getting shot. Let's go. Do it.
Well, we are also fairly confident that we're allowed to take this tire.
Must have made us.
Somebody said, okay, as if they understood exactly what he said.
I thought he was gonna follow us.
He said something about this corner, but there's nothing at this corner besides this truck.
With tires inside.
With tires inside.
We got tires inside. So.
And he did say something about tires being at the corner. Oh, look at this doggy dog.
Is that doggy dog?
Look at this doggy dog. I think we scared him.
Alright, let's do it.
So the tires in the street for the stream, those were our tires that we brought with us. We didn't just not see them and not know what he was talking about. It ended up that we were allowed to take those tires. We went back and asked if we could take one of them. So that was our last tire. It was fantastic. We finally had all the tires that we needed. What we had settled on was we wanted to build a dome, a tire dome for the kids to play on. And there's lots of stray dogs everywhere. They were always really nice to us, not to other stray dogs. And apparently I embarrassed this one or scared him or something. So here's some progress of our tire dome. Some of them are painted. Here's us trying to lay out what our plan is, which is very difficult because we use 17 tires for the dome, and we have 17 different sizes of tires. So planning was hard, although I'm pretty proud of how we did. We only ended up having to move, I think, 2 tires from where we had originally placed them, because it was a lot of, this one fits best here, keeping in mind that we have these sizes left for these places.
We're laughing. It's pretty.
So it turns out oil paint was kind of a bad choice, but we used it because it lasts a long time. Painting the tires was important for 2 reasons. First of all, it looks pretty awesome. Second of all, it gets so hot there from the sun, the tires would be unplayably hot if you don't paint them, which was noticeable. Like, if you can see here that some of them aren't painted yet, and when we were constructing, we kind of were getting short on time, so we didn't paint some of them while we were building it. We waited till after it was built to paint the parts you could see, and those ones got really hot really quickly. So painting was very important, but oil paint turns out to kind of suck. It doesn't dry for several days, and it stays on your hand for that entire duration. So here's Ahmed dealing with the fact that we were just painting tires and it gets all over the place.
We're laughing. It's pretty genius.
Yo, Ahmed, what's on your hand?
The bag. The oil paint on my hand. I'm not gonna put it on my computer, baby.
How'd you get oil paint on your hand?
Oh.
How'd you get oil paint on your hand?
I was painting tires all day with oil paint.
It turns out, not only does oil paint not come off your hands, but
it takes 3 days to dry.
It doesn't dry on your hands either.
It's not
It's just stuck in this limbo stage where it gets all over everything.
It's pretty bad.
So he had a bag on his hand every time he used his computer. So here's some more progress of our tire dome. Pretty proud. We got them connected there and buried in the ground. We did this all what we thought was the right way. We have drainage holes in all the tires. We put sand in the bottoms of the ones that are buried. There's some more progress. And here you can also see our paint job of the monkey bars and the swing set from distance. Progress on the tire dome. So to get the 18-wheeler tire, what? How are they anchored together? So with bolts and 2-inch size washers. That's what we read on the oracle known as internet, what we needed to make a tire dome. Nowhere in Antigua did we have 2-inch size washers. Nobody had them. Every time we'd ask, no, más grande, más grande. Like, no, we don't have that here. So we ended up having to take a trip to Guatemala City to some of the big hardware stores there to find these 2-inch washers, which we did find eventually, but it's a hassle. You know, like I've said, getting parts is pretty difficult. So we drilled holes through the tires and connected them with bolts on both sides. So to get the giant 18-wheeler tire for the dome to the playground, Ahmed for some reason didn't want to carry it, so we got a cart, and he brought it there. And when we were taking the cart back, I thought it'd be a good idea to catch a ride, be on the cart. But then when we got inside and I saw that there were doctors and nurses there, I thought I should be professional and step off. But at that point, it was too late. They had seen me, and they thought that it was a pretty good idea. I don't even think they were headed that direction. I think they just did it for fun. There's some more progress on our tire dome. Starting to come together. So here we are wearing masks, and we're drilling holes in the tires. So why are we wearing masks? Well, the first day we did not wear masks. And it turns out you don't actually drill a hole through a tire. You melt a hole through a tire. The drill just gets so hot that it starts flying bits of melted rubber out, which also kind of hurts sometimes. It gets caught in your arm hairs. But there's lots of fumes from it as well, and it turns out these fumes give you a pretty bad headache that perpetuates for a while. So the next day we thought it best to wear masks, and I think it didn't affect our minds near as much, or so we thought. There's just another picture of us working on our tire dome with the 18-wheeler on top. There's us after our ceremonious last bolt was put in, standing on the top, showing its strength, that it holds both of us. I thought this was a cool picture showing the different colors that we had on the shiny tires. The oil paint paid off, even though it took a long time. Deanna painted this bench for us as well. The bench looks so much cooler than it did before. If you're an engineer, you know testing is very important. So we wanted to test everything very thoroughly, especially the swings and the tire dome. Notice that we used rope here. Rope was our last choice to fix these with. We looked all over Guatemala City for a swing joint that we could use for this, and we spent an entire day walking around trying to find this. Couldn't find it anywhere. So a guy told us that he has a tire swing at his house, and he uses this exact rope that we got. So we're like, okay, let's just use this rope. And this girl here, Deanna, our artist, most interesting girl I've ever met, was also a sailor at some point. She has a sailing license, so she was able to teach us all the knots that we needed to know to make this work well. She was very handy. We're really lucky that she was there. You can also see that we built a tire swing in back. So we have the two remaining swings using the ropes, and then we have a tire swing in the other area that kids can play on. There's me testing the tire swing. More testing. So here's a video of some kids actually playing on our tire dome. So we got this done just in time. This was our very last day. I snuck out to the waiting room and got a video of some kids playing on our new tire dome. 2 videos, I guess. Because I held my phone horizontal. That's why one of them's horizontal. And here's a video of just some people playing on the swing set and monkey bars as well. So it was cool to get to see people use what we did. So after our tire dome was completed, we wanted to go back and show some of the people that we got tires from, what we had done with them. So this was one of the guys. This is the guy that we got our 18-wheeler tire from, and we showed him the pictures, and he was really great, very friendly. He doesn't look super happy in this photo, but that was also some of the best coffee. No, that was the best coffee I've ever had in my life. It was 2 quetzales, which is like 25 cents-ish. It was very good. There's Deanna in front of her finally completed mural. I thought she did a fantastic job. She did all that for free for us. It was great. She made it a little game for the kids. So it says, Busca la palabra, look for the word. So she's got letters scattered throughout, and look for the 10 animals and enjoy life. So there's also 10 animals hidden in there too. So she did a great job. She was fantastic. There's Ahmed and some of the maintenance guys trying to find everything. Testing, I guess you could say. This was our last day. We got some cool cake for the maintenance guys. I guess goodbye cake, if that's a thing. Here's a picture of Ahmed and myself with the subdirector of the hospital, with my favorite doctor. He was the anesthesiologist. He was so fun. He was so friendly. I think he was friends with everybody in the hospital. And like I said, I don't speak Spanish well, so sometimes he would say things to me and look at me, and then he would wait, as you do in conversation when it's my turn to talk, and I would just go, and he thought that was so funny and would pat me on the back like a bless your heart kind of way. But he was great. I really liked him. And then he would tell Ahmed, and Ahmed would tell me what he said. So, okay, this photo doesn't really have to do with anything, but I had to take it and I had to share it. This is a pickup truck with people in it, and a guy in back pulling a pickup truck with people in it, with a tuk-tuk in the back with people in it. Never again will I see something like this. So that's what a tuk-tuk looks like as well. That's how big they are. And we fit, I think, 1, 2, 3, I think we did 7 one time. 7 people in a tuk-tuk. Yeah. It's a workout sometimes. Depending on where you get to sit, it's a workout. So this is supposed to say questions, but it's kind of broken. So questions. This is Maggie, by the way. That was her name. She was at one of the hostels we stayed at one weekend at a lake we went to. She was so cute. Just a little puppy. Yeah, it's a dog. It's called a puppy. It's like a small dog. So any more questions? Anything I left out? Yeah, comment first. Correct. That's correct. We volunteers, we fundraise our own support. Yeah. So then the other question was, will I do this again? I would love to. I would love to be one of the on-the-ground coordinators. So Brian, if you remember him from way back in our first photo, he was one of the coordinators. They're paid just a small stipend to be there, which is totally fine with me. I'd do it for free. If they just, if I could not have to raise a whole bunch of money again, if I could just go and help, that'd be awesome. So yeah, I would love to do it again. I'm going to try as a coordinator. All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I don't think I have any other thing to say.